Hall of Famer. What about Kevin Durant? There are so many players today in the NBA who are incredible, amazing, and the NBA Hall of Fame is something that does get, controversial in terms of what is the credentials to get in. So there is always a debate about whether or not, a certain player should or shouldn't get in. So I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of current NBA players in this live stream, and we're going to talk about, do we think they might be Hall of Famers? And you guys can comment, in the comments talking about your opinion on why you think certain players may or may not be a Hall of Famer, right? So first, obviously, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James are 100% going to be in the Hall of Fame, and there's no controversy surrounding that. And there should be no reason that there should be controversy. Unless you just don't like those players. I get it, personal bias if you don't like those players. But, if you seriously sit here and try to tell me that LeBron James, Steph Curry, and or Kevin Durant, if you think any of them are not Hall of Famers, everyone's entitled to their opinion, as I always say, but that's kind of crazy. There is no way that none of those three, not only are they all going to make the Hall of Fame, of course, but to me, there is no way that you can really debate that they don't deserve to go in the Hall of Fame. And not that anybody's saying that they don't. I'm not saying that I've seen anybody say that. I'm just saying those three, there should be no argument or debate. LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Hall of Famers, well-deserved, well-earned, right? So outside of them, then we start to get to players who, have more likelihood, and there are players who are a bit younger, which we'll talk about, who may or may not also make the Hall of Fame. We'll see. So the next player I want to go to is Chris Paul. I do think Chris Paul is going to make the Hall of Fame. I don't think there is, I guess, much of a debate about it. I'm not sure if there's really a debate on whether or not, people think Chris Paul should or should not be in the Hall of Fame. But I think everything that he's done in his career is obviously going to get him into the Hall of Fame. Even though he never won a championship, I still think he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And I don't think it's really, like I said, I don't think that's really debated, although I'm sure there's some people out there who will say that Chris Paul never won a championship, and he obviously was never MVP either. But, I really don't think there's much controversy if Chris Paul, well, he will make the Hall of Fame, but, if he did, I don't think there would be much controversy around it, but you never know, right? So I'm just saying, Chris Paul is definitely someone who I think is going to make the Hall of Fame. Someone who is actually on the Warriors, too, Draymond Green. I know that is someone that people will debate for days about him being in the Hall of Fame. I feel like the later, the longer his career has gone on, the debate has, I guess, gone more towards yes. I think Draymond Green is a clear 100% Hall of Famer, and there is no debate for me. But I feel like for years people were debating if Draymond Green was a Hall of Famer. Again, I feel like as his career has, gotten longer and gone on, I feel like there's been less of a debate, especially now that he is a 4-time champion and he is one of the catalysts of this, whole Warriors dynasty that they had, right? So, again, to me, there's no really debate there. I think Draymond Green's 100% a Hall of Famer. His importance to that dynasty does go, understated a bit at times, because people will always say, well, he had Steph Curry, right? He had Klay Thompson, but they also had Draymond Green. And if you watch this page, I think Steph Curry is top 5 at the minimum all time. So there's, I'm not diminishing Steph Curry at all, because I think he literally is top 3, 4, or 5 all time. But I think there is no dynasty without Draymond Green also. At least not 4 championships without Draymond. Maybe they get, a ring without him. Steph Curry is that great. The whole roster would be different, so it's hard to project. But Draymond Green is very important to that dynasty. So I think at this point people are kind of done minimizing, Draymond Green's accomplishments and his importance. But if there are people still out there, again, I don't think there's much of a debate. I think Draymond Green is a Hall of Famer, and I think it's well deserved and well earned. And he may get another ring before, he retires. So you never know. He may have 5 rings. So moving on to, let's go to Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has been in the league for how many years now? He's like, what, 29 or something? So Donovan Mitchell has, a decent resume. He's been an all-star. He obviously has been in the playoffs, I think, pretty much every single year he's been in the league. Like, I don't think he's missed the playoffs. Correct me if I'm wrong. But obviously he's never won a championship. I don't think he's ever even been to the conference finals. And Donovan Mitchell, in terms of like playoff stats, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Donovan Mitchell averages like 29 in the playoffs. I have to look that up after, but like Donovan Mitchell, when it comes to the playoffs, like he is scoring and like the numbers show it. Like his numbers in the playoffs are crazy. But that being said, of course, he has plenty of time left in his career. So if Donovan Mitchell's career ended today, would he be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. I'm not sure. And I'm not trying to discredit anything he has done, but right now, I feel like maybe he would need to have a little bit more playoff success, because it's kind of hard, because again, the argument like for or against Chris Paul is that, Chris Paul never won a championship. He was in the finals, so he was in the finals with the Spurs, so he did get further than Donovan Mitchell, right? But I'm just saying, like, obviously they both have not won a championship yet. But again, I don't think there's any debate over what Chris Paul has done in his career, and so I believe he's clearly a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying, if Donovan Mitchell's career stopped right now, would he be a Hall of Famer? I'm not sure, and I'm not saying no, because I'm not saying no because I can't think of all his accolades off the top of my head. He's obviously an amazing player, but maybe not. But again, he still has so much time left in his career. When his career is all said and done, will he be in the Hall of Fame? I think so. Again, I'm not sure because, again, I can't predict the future. But, like, I would think by the end of Donovan Mitchell's career, he will have enough, accomplishments and accolades and stuff like that that will get him into the Hall of Fame. So someone else will stick to or will move to in the Eastern Conference, and that is Jalen Brunson. I know that maybe right now this is not really a hot topic about Jalen Brunson because the success with the Knicks is still fairly new, so to speak. Like, I think it's all happened so fast, but Jalen Brunson has not been a Knick that long. Like, he hasn't been there as long as, it feels like, right? But the success just happened so fast that, like, it just feels like Jalen Brunson has been a Knick forever. But he really hasn't. But of course, what he has done with the Knicks is, like, just unfathomable how fast that team went from where they were to what they are now. And of course, it wasn't just him, but, like, he was the main catalyst of it, of course, the main change. And when they picked up Brunson in free agency, the whole debate and the whole talk was that they overpaid for Jalen Brunson. That was the whole conversation. Like, everybody thought that the contract that the Knicks gave Jalen Brunson was way too much. They were saying he's not a starting caliber point guard, and even if he is, he's not going to be an all-star. Like, everything was against Jalen Brunson, and then look what he's done, right? Like, completely outplayed that contract. So I say all that to say, they went to the conference finals this year, of course, and they got to Game 7. They were one game away from going to the NBA Finals. Jalen Brunson's playoff numbers, we know that he shows up in the playoffs. He is big time in the NBA playoffs, especially, with the Knicks. And if you don't remember, when Luka was out, I forgot what Luka had. I think he had like a back injury or something. But when Luka was out in the playoffs, and I believe it was against Donovan Mitchell's Jazz, Jalen Brunson had like 41. Like, he went crazy. So Jalen Brunson always showed the flashes, but of course, playing with Luka, he wasn't going to ever, put up these giant stats. So I say all that to say, when all said and done, again, right now, would Jalen Brunson be a Hall of Famer? Most likely not, because, even though the track record is amazing with the Knicks, because he hasn't done it for I guess, long enough time in voters' eyes. Again, I think he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, but I'm just saying, like, to get into the Hall of Fame, you need to obviously do things for a period of time. And so because it's just been only a few years of this, I don't think currently he would get into the Hall of Fame if his career ended right now. When his career is finished, though, like I said, Donovan Mitchell, I feel like he should be able to do enough by the time his career is finished to get into the Hall of Fame. Jalen Brunson, to me, I feel like there's really not, in my mind, a debate. I feel like when Jalen Brunson finishes his career, he will be in the Hall of Fame. And I can't predict that he's going to win championships, but I just feel like, at the same time, I feel like there's no way that he finishes his career without a championship, or at least getting to the NBA Finals. Like, just the way that Jalen Brunson plays, I don't know. I just can't see him at least getting to the finals a couple of times. I don't know. I can't see him finishing his career without a ring. I know it's possible. Again, people probably didn't think Chris Paul would finish his career without a ring. I mean, he still has a chance, but like, it's looking like Chris Paul might not get a ring to finish his career. I just feel like Jalen Brunson will get a ring. And regardless of the ring or not, I do think Jalen Brunson will be a Hall of Famer when his career is all said and done. Could always change. You never know what's going to happen, but I think he will be. So then we go to, we'll quickly do Jokic and Giannis, because those two are obviously, again, not really up for debate. They are Hall of Famers. They will be in the Hall of Fame. They have both won championships. They are well-deserved, well-earned. Like I said in the beginning, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. Sure, like 100% Hall of Famers, there's no debate. I don't really think there's a debate about Jokic or Giannis either. So that's that. Those guys are even if their careers ended right now, Jokic and Giannis would be in the Hall of Fame. And obviously, the longer their career goes on, the more accolades and maybe championships they can get, and that would just add to their resume. But even right now, I think both of them would be in the Hall of Fame. So then we can let's go to Joel Embiid. He's an interesting one. Joel Embiid was obviously and has been hampered by all these injuries that he's had. And it's not his fault that he gets injured, but his injuries have, of course, limited his ability to play in the playoffs, to have playoff success, to have regular season success. He has not been healthy pretty much since his MVP season, which is kind of sad. But that's the thing. Joel Embiid already won MVP. He won MVP, and the year after that, the first half of the season, he played even better than he did his MVP season. And I don't want to make a comparison of Embiid to Derrick Rose, because that's just opening up a can of worms that I'm not trying to do, right? Because I know that will stir some controversy. And I'm not trying to compare the two of them anyway. But the only comparison I'm just going to say is that obviously Derrick Rose was the youngest MVP in NBA history. And, he didn't have much time after he won the MVP before, he started experiencing, the knee injuries and stuff like that. So, with that being said, I'm not trying to compare the two of them, but because they both, experienced a ton of injuries in their career, and Derrick Rose, I don't know, I'm just not trying to compare the two, but I feel like Joel Embiid could still maybe make the Hall of Fame. I guess it just depends on how his career finishes. Like, it just depends. Because if he never plays another game in the NBA, do we think Joel Embiid is a Hall of Famer? I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. I don't know. It's a tough question, and it's hard to project someone's Hall of Fame status because, again, he won MVP. That's why I'm not trying to compare him to Derrick Rose, because it's just like they're different players. I don't know. That's one you guys got to debate. Like, I don't know. Will Joel Embiid be a Hall of Famer? Obviously, if he gets more, accolades and stuff like that, as his career goes on, of course, that will change things. and has more playoff success. But like right now, I don't know, it's a tough one. It's hard to say that you don't go into the Hall of Fame when you already won MVP. Like, it's tough. So, I don't know. I have to think about that one. um, so, the next player I want to talk about, I feel like Victor Wembanyama is kind of an unfair one to talk about because projections, of course, if he turns out, how we all project him to potentially be, then of course he will be a Hall of Famer. But like, he's so young and we haven't seen enough from him. I feel like it's really hard to be like, Victor Wembanyama is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I think if he obviously lives up to the projections, 100% Hall of Famer. Like, there's no debate. But it's so early on. It's kind of like people who would predict Cooper Flagg is going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not doubting that Cooper Flagg could be in the Hall of Fame, but like, I have not seen him play an NBA game. So like, I feel like that's hard to even say that like someone that young is going to be in the Hall of Fame because we don't even know. We don't even know what he's going to do in the NBA. We haven't seen it. Like, I feel like that's a difficult thing to say. I'm sure they were saying about LeBron when he was coming in, but it's kind of like the same thing. If like, if I had a channel when LeBron was coming into the league, I probably would have had the same opinion the way that I do about Victor Wembanyama because like, I just don't know. And obviously he lived up to be a Hall of Famer, LeBron, but like, how are we going to know if we never seen it, right? So I feel like those are hard to, to decide. And then the last player I want to talk about, I mean, he's another young guy though, and that's why it's tough. Because I want to talk about Cade Cunningham because his trajectory is just going up, up, up. And if you watch this page, I think Cade is a dark horse for MVP. And not even a dark horse, but like I feel like he, could potentially win MVP. Like, he is just getting better and better and better. And he's finally healthy. He was having those injuries to start his career, but now he's much healthier. And so since he's been healthy, obviously the Pistons made the playoffs, and I feel like he has a really good shot to win MVP if he stays healthy because the East is wide open. What if the Pistons are a top 3 seed in the East and Cade's averaging like 29 and 10? I mean, those are MVP caliber numbers. So that being said, I guess maybe we should wait to see if Cade wins MVP. But like, if Cade won MVP this year, again, we have to see how the rest of his career would go, of course, but it's kind of putting him in that Joel Embiid boat already because he would have already won MVP. And then it's like, if he stays healthy, he should have some playoff success. Maybe he'll get a ring in his career at some point. And then I would expect Cade to be a Hall of Famer. But obviously right now, if his career finished, the answer is no, because he just obviously hasn't had enough time to have all these accolades and stuff like that. So I feel like, and James Harden's probably a Hall of Famer too. I know I didn't mention him, but like I feel like it's not really up for debate. I feel like James Harden will make the Hall of Fame. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye.